Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. I got to hit up Copiers Plus because I need to rework the little system that helps me scan things. It's still tied to my old MacBook, not my new MacBook. So I've been having some things, but that's the beauty of Copiers Plus.
That happened to me too.
Yeah, so
that's you have to reset how
it.
Your printer talks to your computer.
That is customer service. That is true tech support. True tech support.
They actually come to your house
and they will fix it for you.
I remember Drew was like, I texted Drew and I'm like, hey, I got a new computer, but I also have that light switch on the wall where when you turn it on and off, it affects what you're plugged into.
Yeah.
And then I was sitting there because one time I texted him and he was able to help me. You punch in a number, dude. Okay, you're on your way.
Sure.
But this time he was like, I'm gonna send somebody over. And I said, okay. So when this guy came over and it was a good 15 minutes. And I was like, yeah, we couldn't have done that over the phone.
No, but that's customer service. That's Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Speaking of copiers and printers, I would need a new stack of paper to put into the tray to contain all of the stuff written about Terrence Marshall Jr. getting cut from the Carolina Panthers. He did not make the 53-man roster. That's an over-the-top, snarky way of getting into the Panthers on cutdown day. But yesterday, 53-man roster, and the headlines really come down to Terrence Marshall getting cut, as Joe's already making a face if you're watching on YouTube. Jack Plummer, burial at sea. We appreciate your service. Thank you. Valiant effort, man.
Why is he getting burial?
Because they put him out there. He was like a meat shield. The man was a meat shield for Bryce Young.
You have to take every rep.
So, how else would you put it? They set his ass out there just in front of an offensive line that needs work. Bryce Young did one series, a good series against the Buffalo Bills. And all right, salute. Off you go. A 21 sweet tea salute outside the Bank of America Stadium. And so that was also there. And then the other, the headline I thought as a headline is you never want a guy that you drafted to start the season off on the pup. And that's Jonathan Brooks. We knew this was going to be the case, but it's official. He's going to be ineligible for the first 4 games of the season. But Terrence Marshall, wide receiver, who's had 3 years with the Panthers. If I read the stats correctly off of Football Reference, we got 64 balls for 741 yards, 1 touchdown in the last 3 years. Mike K putting this quote out from Bryce Young. That's my guy. That one hurt. Young said he believes tremendously in Marshall, calls him a great person. He thinks he has shown a lot of growth. He thinks there's a lot of success in Marshall's future. And I think context is important here with Terrence Marshall, because when you read the reports from guys like Mike K, Joe Person, Julian Council over on Locked On Panthers, I know he's like, hey, man, Terrence Marshall's had a pretty decent preseason, right? Pretty decent camp. But all of that was in an effort to showcase him to potentially get a trade. And this is now 2 years in a row, last season and the beginning of this season, if I read the reports correctly, where Terrence Marshall Jr. was shopped and there was no interest in him. So off you go. We'll see where he lands. I think it frees up just over $1 million in cap space for the Panthers.
All right. I want to respect the people who cover this team and know this team a whole lot more than I do.
Yeah, the ones that are there every day.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm really, when I was genuinely taken aback yesterday when I kept seeing these tweets about, oh man, Terrence Marshall Jr., I can't believe he got cut. Oh my God, he's going to get picked up tomorrow, and all this other stuff. And then when I saw Mike K's tweet about what a great camp he was having and all this other stuff, listen, after the first preseason game, and he had a couple drops against the Patriots. Sure enough, it was wet, it was rainy.
Yeah.
Jack Plummer was the quarterback. I just want to tell you, this is the new era of the NFL. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think we've come a long way. So I respect all those people who cover the Panthers.
And they know that.
And have watched him and have a better idea of what's going on than I do. Okay?
We would talk to Mike K if he had the availability, but sure, he's grinding right now, man, ahead of the season.
So I respect all of that. But this is to say something sometimes. Sometimes I would get these texts during an NC State game. Did you see this? Did you see that? Did you see this on the TV?
Sure.
And I'm like, guys, and it got to the point where it would annoy the absolute shit out of me because in the press box at Carter Finley Stadium, there's not a great TV.
No,
there's not a great replay.
No.
They now have the video board, but even in the building, you're not getting the same type of replay or getting the same analysis that you're getting. This is why I would go back on Sunday morning and rewatch the game and listen to Chris Fowler tell me all of the things that Dave Doran told him in a meeting the day before. Okay.
And he wouldn't tell you.
So there are sometimes you see things that the people who are covering the team don't see.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, in that very first preseason game, I saw a guy in Terrace Marshall who did not catch the football. All right. Your job is to catch the football. You could be super nice to everybody in the locker room and be friends with Bryce Young, but at some point you have to do your job.
Yeah.
Okay. And I even said on this program, if Bill Belichick or Bill Parcells were still a thing in the NFL, they would have made an example of Terrace Marshall Jr. after the Patriots game and cut him right there. That's what they would have done. And I find this to be slightly amusing and insightful into where we are now in the NFL, because during this training camp, we've had a Tua Tagovailoa interview with Dan Le Batard about how he doesn't talk to Brian Flores and how Brian Flores was a terrible person to him. Brian Flores, of course, was the Dolphins coach in the year the Dolphins were trying to tank, right? And now you have a Bill Belichick disciple who was basically being a jerk, which is essentially what Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick are. They're jerks, they're assholes, but they also know when to love people up. So in the old NFL, they cut Terrace Marshall after that first game, after he's dropping easy outs, okay? He would have been cut that day. But new, handsome, new wave, Dave Canales, the new, kinder, gentler NFL is, hey, man, can we showcase him for 3 games? Maybe give him a chance. Yeah. So we could trade him and turn him into an asset.
That's what they did.
And now we got Bryce Young saying nice things about him and all the people who cover him saying nice things about him. The truth of the matter is Matt Rule is the only person on the planet who could have watched the 2019 LSU team. And fair enough. Terrace Marshall had 12 touchdowns that year, 13 touchdowns that year. Fair enough.
It's a loaded squad. Man.
Fair enough, man.
Come on.
Fair enough. But I think after what we've seen out of Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, I think we could lucidly argue that really any replacement level, the war of that third receiver on that LSU team with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Joe Burrow, the replacement level is pretty close to a flat zero as you could get.
To your example, there was one time I filled in for Ryan McGee on ESPN Radio for Marty and McGee. What do you think the replacement level host you needed to do a show with the Marty Party?
You got to keep the shit moving, man. You just got to keep
all I had to do
between the mustard and the mayonnaise.
All I had to do that morning was just make sure we got to the breaks on time. Come out, set it up, get to the breaks on time, let Marty Party cook. Okay. So I think we're kind of seeing the same thing potentially out of Terrace Marshall, where, hey, man, that third receiver on that squad was going to eat. Okay. It was going to eat.
But only Matt Rule could look at that person and be like,
I tell you what.
I'll tell you.
I mean, this is the same guy who had an XFL Mahomes. Who was his guy?
This is going to translate.
Yeah.
I mean, and also getting back to one of the larger themes of our program, if the Chiefs could tell Tyreek Hill to fuck off, like, guess what, guys?
Well,
Terrace Marshall can be replaced. I think it's okay.
Let's not go with the extremes here. I think what you could ultimately say, what I would say to this, what I would say to anybody who's kind of like, oh man, Terrace Marshall, poor guy. It's like, poor guy, what? You like to make fun of me for this bad boy.
Yes, okay. But now it's going to come in handy.
You think my football almanac is ridiculous. You had Riley. We're doing the draft with Riley from Groove Wagon. He saw this thing and he practically took his pants off when he saw it.
He was very excited.
He's like, what? They're making these again? I'll go, yeah, dude, they're making them again. Anyway. So I'm like, all right. I'm like you. I'm seeing all this reaction to Terrace Marshall. And I see the quote from Bryce Young. I'm like, let's flip through the almanac here.
Let's go to the math.
Where is Terrace Marshall at any point referenced in football almanac? He's not. He's like in a sheet, just telling you what they've done over the last couple of years, but they don't highlight Terrace Marshall in any way, shape, or form in the write-up. And the one thing stuck out to me when I was going back through the Panthers stats, right? And this is for the entirety of the wide receiver group, and why nobody really needs to be shedding a tear over anybody that's not advancing forward with this group. In a league that is dominated by the yak, yards after catch, the Panthers were dead freaking last in both categories. Yards after catch with balls thrown past the line of scrimmage, yards after catch with passes thrown behind or at the line of scrimmage. Dead freaking last. So I'm not exactly keen on bringing back a lot of these key pieces and why they've had to find themselves trying to upgrade. That's why they went and got Deontay Johnson. That's why they drafted Xavier Legette. That's why Jonathan Mingo is probably going to be the one. I know you're making a face on Mingo, but I guess they feel that Mingo has a little bit more upside than what you see out of Terrence Marshall. So, but you know what we're doing? This is peak. What's today's date? August 28th. It's cut down day.
What did I say? What are the easiest things to talk about?
This is what you do, man.
What are the easier things to talk about? That's why you give people things to talk about.
You hyperventilate over the 53-man roster, and I come away real simple on this. From a 2-15 team, we understood what the real focus needed to be for the Panthers. That was the offensive line. You cannot have a functional offense if Bryce Young is under duress the entire time. And you also have to have a functional coach who has a game plan, which is the ultimate takeaway, what we've seen from the Panthers so far. Again, I don't think the Panthers are going to be, in true playoff contention, but they're going to show some improvement this year. And really what is kind of being set up for the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young specifically is Dave Canales and Dan Morgan, the GM, and David Tepper have to see what they can get out of Bryce Young this year before they have to start thinking about their next quarterback, because that's really what this year is about. And I'm not saying they have to make the playoffs, but you and I have talked about this ad nauseum. The Panthers have to at least look like they've got something there. They didn't have anything there last year. They have to look like they got something there.
Trying to think of it this way. The Panthers used the number 1 overall pick on a quarterback last year.
Yeah.
And were dead fucking last in passing.
Yeah.
The team nearest to them was the New York Giants with Tommy freaking DeVito.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That should really tell you all you need to know about where the Panthers were last year. And if you're not even more convinced, look at what they did in the draft. And that's why Mingo and Marshall should have been on high alert the second the offseason hit.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like Legette, your number 1 pick, Brooks, your number 2 pick, and then Jatavian Sanders, who we saw catch a touchdown with that first team offense, by the way, was the 4th pick. So they prioritized, how do we help Bryce Young? How do we help this premium asset that we spent so much to get? Because you're right, you cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater that was the awful 2023 NFL season for the Carolina Panthers. All you can do is try to make the best of it. You hired Canales. You went and got these different playmakers to put around him. Obviously, you're going to have to wait a little bit for Brooks, but I do think Chuba Hubbard is a great placeholder for that. And now you have to put him in the best position to try to have success. And I think that's what they did. Yes. Salute to you, Terrace Marshall, for being on one of the greatest teams in college football history. I would suggest you to go back to Baton Rouge, start a podcast, and start telling stories about that 2019 team, because
hey, man,
everybody and their mother would listen. You could probably even get Orgeron to be your co-host with you if you're still in talking terms with him.
Let's head on over to the DraftKings Sportsbook. I opened up the app. If you have not done this yet, by all means, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use the promo code OG24. You bet $5, you will get $200 in bonus bets. We were talking about the Panthers. I was looking at their season opener at the New Orleans Saints. Right now, the Panthers are +4, -108. Over under 40.5 points. Over 40.5 points is -105. Under 40.5 points is -115.
I like the Panthers in week 1.
Okay.
I know I've fallen for the Panthers before. I'm
we
a
all
little
have.
bit of an optimist.
We all have.
But right now they have an all NC college football boost. Use on any game with an NC school.
Ooh, I like it.
100% boost. Like, I was trying to explain this yesterday. Like the NFL, like there's a lot of people who signed up obviously during basketball season, right? And basketball and gambling on the NCAA tournament, yes, it can be fun for sure. But you ain't lived until you've gambled on an NFL Sunday, sir. And these are not straight bets. Like you just mentioned the total and the line.
I'm just looking at the line and the total.
Yeah, no. The NFL is all about first touchdown score, anytime touchdown score, and your boy's personal favorite, who's going to score next.
I see.
Like,
I see.
I cannot explain to you right now that the OG media would not exist if Matt Canada was calling plays for somebody and I was able to bet individually on the next play call. All right. Like, all of it would be pushed in the middle, and I'd either be living on a street somewhere or I'd have a mansion somewhere out in Vegas. So please do us a favor. Use that promo code OG24. Sign up for DraftKings.
Yeah, I was looking at Alvin Kamara's plus 650 to be the first touchdown. Chuba Hubbard is also plus 650.
You got to get into that life, man. The first touchdown score.
All right.
You know, we've done this with goals in hockey. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh, you can even do first drive. Both teams to score on their first drive. Yes. Plus 500. No. Minus 900.
Dear Lord.
Minus
Minus
drive,
9.
Yeah. First drive field goal made. Yes. Plus 400. No. Minus 700. I actually take that plus 400. Anyway, we're talking about the NFL, but college football week 1 is here. We got a bunch of ranked matchups, and we've got NC State in action on Thursday, Carolina in action on Thursday, Wake's in action on Thursday, and you want to be a part of that. And if you're one of the newbies out there, no big deal. I still consider myself a noob when it comes to all this DraftKings stuff. So new customers who use that promo code OG24, bet $5, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. To score big with DraftKings all college football season long, download that DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use that promo code OG24. That's OG24. New customers will get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball.
Housekeeping.
And it's brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online. ENOVANA.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or cash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
We will be back on location Thursday, 1 o'clock at Longleaf Swine. You and Hayes are going to be doing the show on Thursday, correct?
Yes.
It's going to be an adventure.
Always.
Always an adventure with me.
Always.
Will Hayes have the towel around him?
I think so. Yes.
Looking like Jerry Tarkanian out there.
It's supposed to be crazy hot.
Yeah, I know.
Thursday.
I know. The fans are going to be going hardcore at Longleaf.
You're covered, though, so I like it.
Yeah, no, look, they've got a good spot. They basically have done it in a way at Longleaf where it can compensate for really hot days, and then when it gets cold out, they can put that the tarp down, and it'll keep you nice and warm in there with the space heaters or whatever they are, the little plastic.
The heats. I mean, I'm still laughing at the buried at sea.
Oh, sorry. So anyway, Longleaf, we're there. Go to longleafswine.com. You can order online. You can get some home tailgating. You can get that catered as well.
Can we use housekeeping here for a minute for what was it? Stat Boy, I like to correct whatever show that was.
Yeah.
So I like to listen back to the programs. Western Carolina's offensive coordinator was hired by Pittsburgh.
Oh, okay.
And Pittsburgh has a bunch of Western Carolina transfers.
I got you.
I only know this because I'm doing my ACC fantasy draft. I had said ECU on the program because I got my new coordinators and transfers confused. State is playing Western Carolina. Dave Doran had highlighted, like, here's Western Carolina, a bunch of great numbers last year, this and that. And then I was like, yeah, but the OC's gone and a bunch of guys went with the OC to Pitt.
Gotcha.
To Pitt. So we have that. And I want to do that. Now I'm going to have to do this in real time for you because I know you struggle with names sometimes and
all the time.
And usually you're transposing Sam's. Our guy TMJ is Terrace. There's no N in his name.
Was I saying Terrence the entire time?
Yes.
Damn, man.
So I got you in real time on that one. So I saved the comments.
Now I feel like an idiot. You want to redo that? Nah, we corrected it there. I mean, honestly,
we've already spent more time talking about him than is necessary.
Terrace Marshall. My bad.
But there is no N. So it's just Terrace.
Sorry, Terrace. That's apologies on mine. Sorry about that. We're not going to go back and redo that entire clip because I screwed up a name, but apologies. Mm-hmm. Apologies on that one. Apologies to
Hey man, I got people transferring to the wrong school. So
hey, that's fine. Hey, look, apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies to my Twitter timeline yesterday where I decided I had the time yesterday.
okay.
And I was just, we put an OG fans newsletter out. You
Yeah.
highlighted NC State.
Yeah.
Your newsletters are not always going to be about NC State.
No.
Obviously. But if it's like, oh, is this all going to be NC State?
Pretty sure Carolina, Minnesota will be the bulk of what I write about this week, barring some sort of Clemson upset of Georgia.
Of course,
right?
of course. Speaking of which, and real to put a pin in the to wrap up the thing that I was saying about Twitter. Shout out to our UNC people who understand the show, who get the show.
Yeah.
Okay. And shout out to the NC State fans who are like, what's this guy talking about in relation to You Guys Are a State podcast? You know how many times I fast forwarded through the basketball season? There's that too. I'm like, I put the timestamps there for a reason, guys.
It's helpful.
like this is not radio. I'm not trying to play gotcha. Like, oh, you tuned in and all of a sudden I'm hitting you with the juke. Oh, I thought you were talking about this. Gotcha. No, I'm just laid out. Here's what we're talking about. Either you can mess with it or not. And you can fast forward. I don't care as long as you listen.
I mean, Scotty McCreery listens to this program and he knows that I have an unnatural like of Drake May. Scotty's a big Patriots fan, if you don't know. He is struggling so much right now with this Drake May thing. And he's like, this is the team I like, but I don't like that guy. And I hated when you guys would say nice things about him.
Right. There was somebody who's like, as a State guy, you know how many times I had to hear you two just caress Drake May? I was like, yeah, no, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. But speaking of the After Darks, we're having a meeting here. Hold on.
Hit a button.
Hit a button. We're having a meeting. So we're bringing back OG After Darks throughout select football games.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be an OG After Dark on Thursday night.
Yes.
You and the big dog, right?
The big dog, Ross Martin, is going to help me.
Big hitters only, Joe. Big hitters only. So we're going to do After Darks on YouTube. These will be YouTube exclusives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially since I know how to post them now straight from StreamYard, this whole thing. Yeah. I'm very proud of myself for that.
Growth.
I learned
Joe.
that while I was in Omaha and you were gone.
Yes.
So I was like we always say, sometimes you throw that puppy in the ocean and see if it could swim.
Hey man, I'm going to be seeing that in Hershey, Pennsylvania with a new hockey team. They haven't played a game yet. Just throw them in there and see what happens in a tournament.
No preseason for the junior Canes?
3 preseason practices. So we'll see. That was it.
You really are, bro.
We're really throwing them in, man. We're throwing them in there this weekend. But no, so when we do After Darks this year, they will be YouTube exclusives. We will not be doing a podcast version. There will be podcast takes on what happens over the weekend when we bring you ACC Panic Room on Sunday mornings on OG Fans.
Different.
That's a different thing that's paid for. Shout out to everybody who has signed up for OG Fans over at OG Triangle Media.
And if you'd like to sponsor the After Dark, let me know. We won't do ads on the After Dark. We'll just do, if you'd like to sponsor it, that'll be you.
That'll be
your ad here.
Hey man, we've got these backgrounds. Something's got to be on top of the owl. Right?
The owl. You hit me up with the owl though, right? You took care of me.
I have asked Anna, who is back today.
Okay, we're back. It's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Hopefully, I'll get a background for the After Dark either today or tomorrow, and we'll be good to go. You want to be good to go when it comes to buying and selling a home. You want to do it with confidence. Buy and sell with confidence. That's where our friends at Hometown Realty come into play. MyHTR.com. Don't take some sort of guaranteed offer where you're literally leaving money on the table. You're not getting the maximum amount of value for your home, especially in this market where it's hot. So you want to get the experts involved, and that's where Hometown Realty can help you out.
540 is coming right behind my house, and the explosion that's going to happen all around that. I'm already seeing it in Garner and in the 8 miles between my house and downtown. It's amazing. And I would not want to navigate that without the help of our friends at Hometown Realty. So please go check them out. MyHTR.com.
Big thanks to Homefield as well. HomefieldApparel.com. They crushed it at the Sports Podcast Festival. Love that everybody bought that hoodie. Super, super comfortable. If you want to buy a team branded hoodie, they've got them right now. They've even got some of these team boxes. Like the NC State one with the 3 Wolf Moon is off the charts hilarious. I want one. You got to get the box.
Yeah.
So head on over to HomefieldApparel.com. You want to save money on that team box, you can use that promo code OG24 to save 15% off your order. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from an undisclosed Starbucks parking lot in the greater Pittsburgh area, ESPN's Brooke Pryor in the house. You got that pumpkin spice, Brooke? What are you doing?
I got a pumpkin cream cold brew like it's not 90 degrees outside today.
Nothing says pumpkin spice season quite like a false fall post heat wave as we
Here's
are
the
dealing
thing.
with right now.
Once my doctor said this morning that I was healthy, I said, all right, bet I'm going to go get a cold brew with 50 grams of sugar in it because I've already had my blood work.
Hey,
And what
Great
they
call.
don't know won't hurt them.
I went to the dentist yesterday. I got funky teeth, so I go every 3 months, and they were going hardcore at it. And I'm like, cool, appreciate it. You know what I did right after that? Got home and scarfed down a bunch of tortilla chips because that's what you do after you go to the dentist.
Are tortilla chips bad for your teeth?
Oh yeah, you know how many times I get jammed up in the gums? Oh yeah.
Popcorns. Oh,
Popcorn's even worse.
yes. I have had to go to the dentist to have them get a kernel out of my gums, and nothing is more humiliating than that.
Yeah.
And then I went right back and ate more.
Actually, the only thing I can think of that would be more humiliating is if Russell Wilson is the reason why we do not get a Mike Tomlin streak continuation this upcoming season. That would be humiliating for the Russ.
Wow, what a great pivot. Yeah, it's going to be Russell Wilson starting week 1. Which we all knew and should have known from the minute he signed in Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson was not going to come here if there was a true open quarterback competition.
Yeah.
I do think that there was some intrigue because of that calf injury. When you are of a certain age, and that is an old in quarterback years, 35, and you have a calf injury from pushing a sled during a ramp up conditioning test the night before training camp, that kind of makes you go, how serious is this? What does this do for Justin Fields? How long is Russ going to be out? Are the Steelers going to be enamored with Justin Fields once they see him working with the ones in a way that kind of pushes Russ to the side? But the thing about the Steelers is that they are very loyal. And in this case, they've had Russ longer than they've had Justin. They probably said some things to Russ when he signed. And nobody with the Steelers, Mike Tomlin historically no one has lost a job because of an injury. They're usually given an opportunity to come back. And so that's what Russ did. He came back. He has a higher floor, lower ceiling. He's not going to make as many mistakes as Justin Fields. And for Mike Tomlin, that's good enough. And that's why Russell Wilson started in the pole position. I'm trying to think of where we are in this analogy. The checkered flag hasn't dropped because I think the checkered flag is week 17. This quarterback competition isn't ending because it's week 1. I think that there's a world where Justin Fields still ends up playing for the Steelers on the field at some point this season as the starting quarterback. We're at the midway point. We're at the first pit stop, and Russell Wilson's still leading the pack.
Do you believe in
Badgers?
Do you believe in Malcolm Gladwell's blink theory? That you figure stuff out in the first 3 seconds or whatever the rule is?
I'm not familiar with that one.
I am unfamiliar with that.
He wrote a whole book about it.
I only know Malcolm Gladwell from you have to do X amount of hours to become an expert at something.
I think it's in that same book.
Okay, same book.
Didn't he write Tuesdays with Maury?
No. That's Mitch Albom.
That was the problematic Mitch album.
Yes.
Okay.
Things we don't promote on this program.
I feel like there's a Mitch Albom story in there. Anyway,
basically, it's like if you don't know the answer in the first 7 seconds, then you're not going to get it, right? Like I told you this.
That was how I approached studying in college. So good to know that I've been doing this theory for a while.
For a long time. Like it's the most basic of theories, right? Like we did a song contest, and I would always tell Joe, if you don't know the song in the first 3 seconds, like it's not magically going to come to you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for Justin Fields, when he gets on the field in the very first preseason game, man, your boy watched a lot of fucking preseason football this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. Why did you do that?
What did he fumble? 2 snaps or whatever the heck he did? Ball game.
That wasn't on him.
Over. Game time. I don't care whose fault it was. Ultimately, it goes down to the quarterback. You got to steal the fucking snap. And when he fumbled and didn't come out and blow that thing away, he was done. He was done.
I don't think that the issues, nothing that Justin Fields did in the preseason told me that he couldn't be the starting quarterback. He was never going to win this competition. That's the thing. Fumbled snaps or not, he could have gone out there and thrown 500 yards in a preseason game. and he was still not going to win the starting job because Russ wasn't out there because he was hurt. Like, he was always going to have an opportunity to come back. Like, I don't know what Justin Fields could have done to win this competition. It's very similar to 2 years ago when Mitch Trubisky was signed and then they drafted Kenny Pickett, and there was allegedly a competition and they were going to evaluate these guys through the preseason and training camp and weight everything. Everyone I talked to in the building was like, yeah, no, like, we all knew Mitch was going to start the season. Like, that was a foregone conclusion. Say whatever you want publicly. Kenny could have come in and blown the doors off. It was still always going to be Mitch because it's easier to go from Mitch to Kenny.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same thing. I talked to someone in the locker room a couple days ago who I was like, does this remind you of 22? And he was like, yeah, if we didn't play so poorly in that Bills game, we being the first team offense, there isn't even a public discussion right now about this still being an open quarterback competition. Like, it has always been Russ. And I think that, to me, the thing with Justin Fields is that he's still overthinking it. Like, it's not the fumbled snaps. There was another fumbled snap in this last game, and he explained it yesterday. They were in a silent count, and he was working with a different center. The 2 fumbled snaps in that first game were with a center who was never going to be the starter and is now out for the year with a torn rotator cuff. That is a separate thing. The fumble that he had this weekend, silent count, he changed the protection. The left guard heard it. The center did not. And the guard tapped the center on the shoulder to signal to him that the protection had changed. The center, who's a rookie, thought, oh, he's telling me to snap the ball. And Justin was still moving a guy in motion. And that's where that happened. It's a freak thing that happened, right? It's one of those things that, like, it's not the quarterback's fault. But I still think that Justin Fields looks more natural and comfortable in this offense because they're letting him go back to playing with his natural, I think it's his left foot forward when he's in shotgun. I think they're not trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, but he's still overthinking it. He's still holding on to the ball too long. That is going to be his biggest issue going forward. And that was a thing that he struggled with in Chicago. So back to that 3-second theory, if he's at this point in his career and he's not kind of getting that, it might be too late. But
Okay.
I think I still want to hold out hope that he figures it out.
I feel like, sticking with the quarterback conversation and to get away from the Steelers for a bit, I get that we need games to start because we're just talking about the same things in a circular way. But, I'm seeing the Athletics quarterback tier thing, right? And I know ESPN does a similar thing as well. And we're still having this debate about Lamar Jackson, getting the ball where it needs to be. We're still having this debate about Josh Allen. I mean, at this point, you talk about if you want to go back to Gladwell, we have enough tape. We have enough data on these guys at this point. And Josh Allen's not a new commodity. We kind of know what he is. And I'm going to be really curious to see how, and I know what the Ravens are going to do, but with Josh Allen, I don't know how they're going to go about this upcoming season when it's the Dolphins keep on the come up and the Dolphins at 100% health look like they can win the division. Whereas, New England's going through a new path, new offensive line. They got Drake May, everything else. It's a competition between the Bills and the Dolphins. And I don't know if the Bills in any way got better and they're relying on Josh Allen to just kind of keep it in the line. And I don't know if he's capable of that at this point. We have enough data to show that.
And what I thought was interesting is we just published at ESPN, I believe it went up yesterday, a survey of different defensive players around the league, a survey of quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh Allen, I think, had 11 votes for being the most overrated quarterback. Jalen Hurts and Tua each had 10.
Yeah.
And, you never know why a defensive player is voting a certain way. Sometimes, it's like, funny, we're going to say that Josh Allen is overrated because I just want to jab at him, or I'm mad that he keeps beating me, whatever. I know, ironically, some of the guys that I talked to gave me a vote for Josh Allen. Josh Allen, to me, has not proven that he can do it with a bunch of Jags, to be honest. Like, we've seen him. I was trying to think of like a nice way to put it.
A bunch of jabronis is what you're saying.
Jabronis, yes.
We have seen other quarterbacks do that, yes.
Right, and we have not seen Josh Allen do that. Like Patrick Mahomes, to me, leveled
Right.
up when he has just like the island of misfit toys as his receivers. You know, yes, he had Travis Kelce that whole time, but like still, Lamar Jackson has still been able to make things happen even with all the injuries that are happening. Like to me, Josh Allen has not done that yet. Doesn't mean he can't, but like, yeah, this is a huge test. I think that the Bills had to blow up that situation. Like there was clearly something off between Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, and that was not going to be tenable long term. But like, you got to take a step back now to take a step forward, and I think that they're in that step back period. And I feel for my pals in Buffalo that are covering this team that like, it's a long winter up there. It's even longer when your team is struggling and you don't have like an escape or something to look forward to.
How lucky are you? You go from an NC State punching bag and Matt Canada calling plays to now maybe someone who was your contemporary at Carolina and Arthur Smith. Is there been another coach who's been bagged on as much as Arthur Smith that was with the Falcons and now with the Steelers? Like, does this not seem like a repeat of the Matt Canada disaster? And like, what is missing in Mike Tomlin's DNA that he keeps hiring these awful offensive coordinators? Problematic, I should say.
I was going to say, I think that Arthur Smith fits what the Steelers want to be as an organization in terms of they're in the trenches. He loves a good run game, all of that stuff. It would have been too mind-blowing for them to go with somebody from the Kubiak-Shanahan tree. Like if we all of a sudden went West Coast offense and 4 verts, let's air it out, like that would have broken the minds of the Yinzers. I would have loved it. That's the offense that I grew up watching. Shout out Larry Fedor. We're going to be smart, fast, and physical. Don't get out of your seat. They're going to score a touchdown. I've not experienced that in quite some time.
Gives me pleasure.
But I think that I got to say, like, I have been really impressed with Arthur Smith so far. And I'm not just saying that because I was going to say both paying our student loans to the same place, but I doubt he has those. I
don't think you need to doubt, Brooke. I think he's good.
I don't know. He had a football scholarship. Anyway, I
don't think he was on scholarship. I think Dad took care of that one from the jump.
Okay. Anyway, I think that he's got the right approach for the offense that he has. I think he has with the players that he has. I think there's going to be an issue with the wide receiver depth because there's not a lot of it. The offensive line, they've got to figure it out. Broderick Jones starting at right tackle. They've got to rip the Band-Aid off and move him to left. Like he's not a right tackle. He's a left tackle. But Troy Fautanu getting hurt kind of stilted that process. I'm interested to see what happens. I do think it's going to be a better experience than the Matt Canada experience. Granted, the bar is on the floor, but
you won't let it go.
Arthur Smith is a proven NFL offensive coordinator. His offenses in Tennessee were good. Just because you are a good offensive coordinator does not mean you're going to be a good head coach. I think you can be a good coordinator and not be a good head coach. And I think that he's more in his element here. And the difference with Matt Canada was that he had never been an NFL coordinator. He did not have a ton of NFL coaching experience. And his offenses just didn't go together. Like it wasn't smooth. It didn't flow. It just kind of felt like he was calling a bunch of plays and not like an overall grand plan, grand scheme of things. There wasn't, I'm struggling because I couldn't take all of my medication this morning before my doctor's appointment. So my mind is all over the place, but
I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to ask you before we say goodbye.
Oh no.
What you think about this upcoming Tar Heel football season? Because they're going to be better without Drake May, right?
No. No.
How you taking in Thursday night, Minnesota? What are you doing, Brooke?
I am. Shout out to the new NFL schedule because the Steelers are done today, this afternoon, then they get 4 days off for Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm driving back to North Carolina tomorrow, hoping to be on my couch in Holly Springs to watch the Minnesota game. And, I'm sure at that point, Braden Ayuk will be traded to the Steelers, and I'm just going to go jump in my neighborhood pool at that point.
Hey, look, Brooke, if you can do an ESPN hit from the inflatable pool unicorn, that's TV, Brooke.
No,
That's
here's
TV.
what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down the slide, and as I get to the end, I'll be like, the Steelers made a splash today.
Hey!
And that's showbiz, baby.
There it is.
So somebody's got to get paid the big bucks. It's not me.
Exactly. And Arthur Smith. All right, Brooke, we appreciate it. I'm sure we will talk some more Tar Heel football with you as the season goes on.
We don't have to.
Why not? I've been told that we need more Tar Heel representation. So not even the Tar Heel wants to talk about Tar Heel football.
I've lived this season. I'm living quarterback competitions. When you have two, you have none. I can talk about it in my sleep. It's the same thing over and over.
Yeah. All right, Brooke. We'll talk to you later. It's Rowback week for Joe Giglio. Had the hoodie on yesterday. You got the polo on today. I got the shorts on today. And as things are transitioning into the fall, don't sleep on the pants.
My pants
super
are ready
comfortable.
for tomorrow. I'm going to be in the press box, so I'd like to wear pants in the press box.
Oh, yeah. You got to be somewhat professional.
Yeah.
Good for you.
So I have my Rowback joggers. Actually, they just reloaded them. I just saw that. I get my emails from Rowback. I get my peaches out in Rowback. I get my emails from Rowback. I'm Rowbacking up. Use that promo code OG20. I'm like you. I literally stop people on the street when I see them wearing Rowback, and I'm like, hey, man, get another one. OG20. Save 20%.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
You can save money when you go to Nature's Relief this weekend. They got a tax-free shopping weekend at various Nature's Relief stores. We'll be at Nature's Relief, the OG out there on Glenwood Avenue, out by Pleasant Valley Promenade. Check them out online, naturesreliefhempstore.com. I took this, the hybrid one last night. It's like a sativa indica.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's 25 milligrams per gummy. So I cut those bad boys in half. I cut them in half.
Dude.
Look, when I want to zonk out, look, man, I had to.
25, just hearing it.
But it's not 25. I'm taking half of the 25. I'm taking half of the 25.
Half for me.
Oh, you're done. You're done. But tell you what, nothing allows me to enjoy Apple TV's morning show quite like half a gummy.
Can't believe you watched that show.
It's getting to the point where I think Michael Scott, they're setting up the Michael Scott death. I know you kind of spoiled it, but they're setting it up.
Yeah.
I know. It's like, I know what's happening because you spoiled it, but I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Anyway, if you're looking for something to just kind of take the edge off, if you're looking to be like somebody like me that wants to go into outer space, they got all those things at Nature's Relief. So head on over to naturesreliefhempstore.com.
I've never been as excited for a live show as I am about the Holly Ridge. Like, you're gonna have to corral me because I'm gonna be like, can we go over to the Irish place? Can we go over to the peddler? Can we go over to the other? Can we
could do all of that.
Can we have like a drink and then do this?
Like,
it's gonna be like a what do we call that? Hillsborough hike. It's gonna be like a Pleasant Valley hike for me.
Jeez. You know what? I better recover with a smoothie or some roughage before any of that stuff happens. We're gonna take a hockey break with Luke DeCock here in a second.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
I don't know. Maybe Luke's got some news on Seth Jarvis. I mean, that thing keeps taking forever. You can sometimes you want to get lunch and you don't have time for it to take forever. You don't have time to be in a line. No worries. Download that Happy and Hail app. You can order online and they'll have it ready for you to pick up and off you go. So check out Happy and Hail. North Hills, they got one off of Six Forks near 540. And of course, they'll be back at PNC Arena. Looking forward to that. So big thanks to Happy and Hail. Shall we? Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, columnist for the News and Observer, he is Luke DeCock. Luke, what up, man?
What's going on, fellas? Good morning.
I feel like if we were still doing radio, I would do a bit like I used to do with Jerry Palm heading up to the NCAA tournament selection, where I would just be like, in or out, out. It'd just give me one word answers.
Yeah.
If we were still doing radio, I'd be like, hey, has Seth Jarvis signed yet?
Nope.
All right, Luke, appreciate the time. We'll talk
Thanks,
to you
you guys.
tomorrow.
Thanks for having me on. Pleasure as always.
I mean, it's just that's honestly what we would do, because really, what else are we going to talk about at that point? Either he's signed or he's not. Either he is or he isn't. You're in a wrap. So
Well, here's the deal.
What's taking so damn long, Luke? Come on. I feel like the season's about to start.
I would refer you to the column I wrote last week, but
I was
will
going to say,
break
he
it down
just
for
explained
everybody.
this.
No, but I needed you to explain it to me. I can read
In a
your
way that
column.
you
I
can
read your column.
understand.
I invite you on to explain to me like I'm 5 because I'm lazy and I don't want to read.
All right, so Seth Jarvis is a restricted free agent without arbitration rights. That means he basically has the same leverage that you or I do to force a contract out of the Hurricanes. Time is his leverage, right? Brinksmanship is his leverage. All he can do is wait and try to make the team sweat. The problem with that is he doesn't want to wait. He wants to be skating in Morrisville with his boys, and he's an important part of the dressing room and all that. So the way these things typically work is there's a number that both teams know is whatever, and you get within $500,000 or whatever per year of that number, and you cut it and you do the deal and move on. In Jarvis's case, the team's number is somewhere around 8 years at $7 million. He wants 8 years at $8 million. I think both of those are totally fair numbers. And normally you'd say, okay, let's just get together and, somewhere around the middle, maybe, 7.75, whatever. The issue is Andrei Svechnikov is at $7.75 million per season. And the Hurricanes have an interest in keeping Jarvis at or below that number for the sake of their salary structure. That's a legitimate concern. Once you start leapfrogging players, then other guys want more money. And in a cap league, you want to slot players. Hurricanes have a legitimate argument there, and their feeling is Andrei Svechnikov was the number 2 pick in the draft. His top end is higher. They'd like to see Jarvis come in somewhere in the $7 to $7.5 million per year range on an 8-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis, looking what other guys have gotten, his numbers, what he would get if he went to arbitration, is thinking 8 at 8, and that is actually a smaller percentage of the actual salary cap than when Svechnikov got his deal. So you can make the argument, well, that's fair too. But this is, look, neither side has any reason to budge, right? It's still August. There hasn't been a reason to do a deal. There hasn't been a reason really for Jarvis to budge. The team has all the leverage. You start looking at other options. Could you do 7 years at $7 million? That makes sense, and it solves those problems. But the player doesn't want to leave a year of term on the table, and the team doesn't want to leave a year of term on the table. You're basically you're buying that 8th year for $8 million. That's a good deal when you look at where the salary cap's going to be in 8 years and where Jarvis is going to be. So neither side wants to do that when you can do an 8-year deal. And then there's the bridge deal. You do 2 or 3 years in the $4 to $5 million range. I mean, Marty Necas is on his second straight bridge deal. But that's more when a player and a team have a fundamental disagreement about the player's value. The player has something to prove. The team wants to see him prove it. And they sort of take that interim position. That's not really the case with Jarvis. Like, even at his current level, and you're obviously buying improvement here, even at his current level, you know what you're going to get. A bridge deal doesn't make sense here for either side, unless you're just doing it to get into camp and get a deal done because it's easier. So my assumption is still that this is going to end up at 8 years in the 7.5 to, somewhere around there within $500,000 a year of that. But there's no reason right now for either team to do that deal or either side to do that deal. The Hurricanes don't want to, buckle on their position, and Jarvis doesn't want to buckle on his. So that's why this takes a while. If it wasn't for that Svechnikov number in there, I think this probably would have happened already. And the Hurricanes, look, they also like to do deals with, some unique financial considerations involved. They're going to do whatever they can do to maximize the cap. So there may be signing bonuses or different AAVs, average annual values involved over the course of the contract. They may fart around with it a little bit. And so that may push, once they do sort of agree on a number, that may push things back a little bit too. So as I wrote, is it time to worry? Yes and no. It is time to worry. We're getting close to September and the deal hasn't been done yet. But the reality is there hasn't been a reason to do the deal before now. The closer we get to September 23rd and the start of camp and everyone being there, the more pressure there will be on both sides to get a deal done. And look, that's when you're in an intractable situation like this, that's what pushes you over the line. The deal will get done, right? Mm-hmm. The days when restricted free agents didn't report to camp, and it's not a holdout. Holdout is when you have a contract and you don't show up. Important to understand that. Seth Jarvis has no obligation to show up for training camp at this point. The days when restricted free agents would do that are pretty much over. Agents have learned over the last 10 to 15, 20 years that ends up being self-defeating. The player has a bad year.
Yeah.
that there's bad blood. You're better off taking a little bit of a haircut than doing that. We saw that in Toronto. Obviously the last market in the world you want to do that in. But so I don't foresee that happening. But that's your nickel explainer reader's version of what's going on.
And if you want a deeper explanation, by all means, go read Luke DeCock in the News and Observer.
I actually think that was deeper than the column, just because I stretched it out a little bit. But either way.
Okay. Now the cap flattened because of the pandemic, Luke, or was there a deeper reason there?
No, it was the pandemic, and they even actually kept it flat when it would have gone down by the players basically loaning the league cap space that they had to give back over the last year or two. So it's kept it flat coming out of the pandemic as they sort of repaid that money. But it's going up now. It went up this year. It will go up next year. It will go up the year after that. It will go up. The cap is back, barring another pandemic or some other, a lockout, some sort of business disruption. The cap is going up. So that if you can get a player like Seth Jarvis signed for the long term, that's going to benefit both sides. I mean, the same thing is really true of Marty Necas. It's just hard because the Hurricanes won't commit to him at the number he wants. And he really did want to explore his options. And there were some teams interested. And in the end, none of them offered the Hurricanes anything that was worth doing, which should be a message to Marty Necas to come back in here and buckle down. And, if he wants to play center, let's play defense and play in your own end and back check like you want to play center and not like you're a wing who thinks he should play center.
When you say slotting guys into spots, is that by position? Because I'm thinking ahead to Slave and Steel being up next year.
I mean, it's you have every team does it differently. It's more philosophical than everything. You kind of want to set barriers of what you're not going to pay a guy more than. Like Aho, you don't want to give a guy just to get him signed more than Aho, because then Aho is going to come back and say, well, why does this guy? So you kind of have an informal structure of who gets what. Slavin is going to be your highest paid defenseman, presumably. Now you will run into issues where you do a short-term deal with Dmitry Orlov where you give him money instead of term. So he ends up making more than player Y, or you pick up the end of Brent Burns' contract in San Jose. So, this is not a hard and fast rule, but when you have leverage and you have the option to do things a certain way, you kind of want to get players in places where it makes other negotiations easier. And look, that team has an interest in that. That is that's not malignant or, punishing players. The team has an interest in that because it affects every contract on the roster.
Luke DeCock, columnist, News and Observer, joining us on the Heaster Automotive Group hotline. I'll be contacting Heaster Automotive Group here shortly because I need to buy a car. They got great used cars. I'm going to find my Honda Element one of these days. All right, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you later. Big thanks to Whitaker and Hamer for sponsoring Ovies and Giglio. You can check them out online, wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. They can really take care of any number of legal needs. You need a contract taken care of. They can handle that. Buy, sell a home. You got to take it to closing. They can handle that. If you're a small business, medium-sized business, you need some legal representation. Again, attorneys and counselors at law. It's all there with our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. If you would like to sue Joe for buying all of the peanut butter cookie at Two Roosters, you can probably contact Whitaker and Hamer to see if you can file an injunction.
3 days left.
You can file an injunction at wh.lawyer, or better yet, just go to Two Roosters and buy the stuff now before Joe gets to it.
You can buy the one big jug of it,
I know you can.
But you have to have a freezer that can fit it. So
that's always tricky.
becomes a challenge. No, I was there yesterday.
Yeah,
taking care of some OG business, and Emma had told me I haven't looked yet at what the flavors are for September, and I was like, oh, I usually count on you for such intel. And then she's like, well, do you need me to store away some pints of the peanut butter cookie? And I was like, yes, please. I'm like, I don't think I have a space big enough to buy the big gallon of it, right? It's more than a gallon. It's a couple gallons.
Big thanks to, maybe I should get some insurance on all the Two Roosters ice cream to ensure the availability. Hey, look, maybe Debbie Yau's got a way to, if all this ice cream's purchased, then something kicks in. I don't know. Maybe Matt Davis can come up with a policy for that. I don't know.
We wouldn't want to do that to Matt. Debbie's pretty good at that.
This is true. But look, this is, let's keep it simple. Maybe we're not looking for insurance claims on ice cream. We're just looking for something to save money on your home and auto. InsureGarner.com, theoginsurance.com. You can call Matt Davis directly at 919-779-8277. Big thanks to Matt Davis and his Matt Davis 12 game of the week.
North Dakota State against Colorado.
Let's go.
Number moved up to 10. I noticed that yesterday.
Oh, goodness. Okay, then. Give him a call, 919-779-8277. You know, we don't accuse the NCAA of making a lot of sense, but it appears as though the NCAA might be making some sense with college football, the transfer windows, and when they start, when they end, and everything else. You tell me, is this making more sense? The spring transfer period is officially in danger of being eliminated after the NCAA's FBS and FCS Oversight Committee recommended the sport move to a single offseason notification of transfer window. No. I thought there was like 3 of these or 4 of these. Anyway, this is from Max Olson over at ESPN. Under their proposal, the 30-day transfer window in December would become the lone opportunity for FBS and FCS players to enter their name into the portal, seek a new school. For the past 2 years, the transfer portal has opened up for a 15-day period in April. This makes sense. It's not complicated, right?
Yeah, they needed to do this a long time ago. This is one of those where they were like, hey, you know, we can't make any rules. And it's like, no, you can make rules.
Mm-hmm.
You still are a governing body. And the football in particular, the coaches have been absolutely screaming incorrectly about this. You know, we saw this right from the jump. Remember Jordan Addison leaving Pitt after going through spring practice and then being paid by USC to go out and play with Caleb Williams. So, you know, on so many levels, this makes so much sense. So congratulations to the NCAA. It's rare that I say to them that they use their common sense.
Yeah.
But here we go.
From Nicole Auerbach on Twitter, players that are in the college football playoff would still get 5 days to enter the portal after their last game. So again, there's also some things that make sense there too.
Yeah, we saw this last year with Malik Murphy at Texas.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, these guys, even in a backup position, should be able to participate in a playoff situation and then have the same ability to go and find a new spot.
It's a lightning round. It's the lightning round.
Now, this is a topic that I feel only matters to beat writers like you used to be and gamblers. But there seems to be some kind of pushback from college football coaches as it relates to the depth chart. So we got Clemson and Georgia that are playing. Clemson put out their packet of information, and when you get to the depth chart, it says, yeah, it's blank, just straight up blank on their info packet. And it says you will get the depth chart at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday ahead of the game. And then Dabo had some press availability. This is from our guy, Chappell Fowler, over at the State. And Dabo on why Clemson isn't releasing a week 1 depth chart till game day. He says, so y'all would ask.
No, Monday depth chart this year. Is that because Georgia is not putting one out week 1, or what's the reasoning there?
Yeah, I mean, just so y'all would ask, just to make y'all have to dig a little deeper. They got to buy the subscriptions to all of our Tiger websites, and you know, have to get the inside scoop from Larry, who's playing where and who's running out there first. I guess that's it. I don't know. It seems like a new thing.
Yeah, when's the last time you think you didn't do a week 1
I have
depth
no
chart?
idea.
Remember?
I have no idea.
Now, Nick Saban was famous for using the depth chart release as a way for him to get on the podium and just rip people for caring about the depth chart. And
Jim Harbaugh didn't release a roster one year.
so what am I missing here? What is this? What are the state secrets they are trying to keep with a depth chart? As if,
Again, it's easier to talk about what information you want to talk about than it is to talk about, like, how many times can Dabo talk about that he hasn't gone into the portal and he's being completely stubborn?
okay,
Right?
okay.
I'm not saying, like, I think there is also a part of this. I do know this from NC State. They literally have someone who reads the game notes. They have someone who goes through and listens to their press conferences each week before they talk, all those things. They comb through all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So what you're combing for that you don't see on the film, I don't know, but it's performative.
Okay.
And it gives you other things to talk about. What do I want to talk about? What do I don't want to talk about? it's a bit of a controlling of the message. I would think in the case of Georgia, who did go into the portal and get a bunch of players, you're sitting here. Maybe you think it's to your advantage that, oh man, here's my hot shit receiver that we got out of the portal. Well, if he's not the starter, if he's the backup, or if you list them now, NC State lists like 20 starters, by the way.
Yeah.
Like only 11 could be on the field at once, just in case you didn't know.
I know this is going to sound this is gonna sound not exactly productive, but is there too much of media availability?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, is there too much? Is this a byproduct of Dabo's got how many different ways he's got to talk to the media and talk about the same thing throughout fall practice, and then the availabilities that happen from week to week? I mean, the NFL is no different.
I was going to say, for the longest time when I was growing up, I thought I wanted to cover the NFL when I grew up, and then I went to see Steve Spurrier when he was with Washington.
Yeah.
And I had to wait around all day and do what they did. And I was like, no, no, thank you. No, thank you.
So in a way, I feel like this is sometimes less is more. Just saying, less is more when it comes to coach availability. And maybe they won't be so damn surly they do talk to people.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd rather have one good day of the week or two, right? A pregame, a postgame, midweek, whatever.
Well,
but trying to do something every day, it's not productive.
It's not productive. And I mean, speaking of Dabo and availability,
we've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
So this is also from Chapel Fowler. It is official. Clemson football coach Dabo Swinney will no longer take live calls from fans on his weekly radio show. The new format is called Tiger Sports Hour with Dabo. Fans will be able to submit questions via text, email. First show's tonight at 8:00. And then he went on to essentially live tweet that thing. So Tyler, from wherever he was in South Carolina, will not be able to call in and question Dabo in the middle of the season, who's just 6 plays away from being undefeated again.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen in that game?
Oh, against Georgia?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, they're going to get their ass kicked.
Okay.
They're going to get their ass kicked.
Okay.
And I stated this from the jump, and I know that I tied it to the play of DJ Uiagalelei, right? And Clemson fans were very much about, see, he's the same guy. But we'll see how it goes for Florida State the rest of the year. And as we get further away from that game, and we talked about it with Wes, I know you jumped on it on Monday, that might be more about Georgia Tech this upcoming season than it is about Florida State, who's still very much in the mix. Whereas Clemson, there's a lot of outside pressure from fans on Dabo to get with the times. And as you mentioned with Georgia and the depth chart and everything else and the transfer portal, and Dabo is continuing to be stubborn about that. Well, if you go back out there and you start getting your ass kicked, well, guess what's going to happen?
People aren't going to be happy. I will caution this. Georgia won the national championship in 2021. They opened that year in Charlotte against Clemson.
Yeah.
The game was 10-3.
Okay.
I do think Clemson's defense is going to be just fine. They seemingly almost always are.
Yeah.
I do wonder how much they will score against Georgia's defense, though. That would be my primary concern.
Topic, stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
We got something to drink when we hit 8,000 subscribers, Joe, on YouTube. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Gator wine?
No.
So I was reading Defector yesterday, and they had something. What was it? What was the name of the? Consider Gator wine. That's what it was called. Consider Gator wine.
Are you talking about a Gatorade that is wine?
Gatorade with wine. Essentially, what you do, it's blowing up on TikTok over the last couple of weeks.
The TikToks.
Essentially, what you do is you take light blue Gatorade, and then you have to have red wine, ideally cheap red wine. There's a foodie on YouTube. It goes by Babish, and this is the clip that's gone viral. It's been viewed 1.2 million times 2 weeks ago on Gator wine.
You know it goes great with everything.
Gator wine.
God, straight up, yes, right, it does.
This is Gator wine. Guess what it is?
Gatorade and wine?
Yes. It's specifically equal parts light blue Gatorade.
Light blue Gatorade?
And red wine, cheap, under $12.
Well, this is exactly what I need right now. Some electrolytes, some booze.
It's not like anything I've ever tasted. The more I'm drinking it, the more I like it. I gotta give it a 6. I like it. I can feel it coming.
See, I watched that clip. I'm like, oh my God, that's Giglio. I could see you pounding some Gator wine because it's combining two things: electrolytes to keep you hydrated, and you love hydration. You love hydration like anybody's business. You will buy those magic packets that you'll stick into do we have a bottle of water, a plastic bottle of water? You're all about that stuff. So I feel like this is right up your alley, man.
You're putting me in a pickle here because parent Joe, you don't know this.
Uh-oh.
The youths do something like this. They call it Borg.
Oh, I read about Borg. Yeah. What is Borg? Remind me what Borg is.
It's putting liquid IV into a vodka.
Oh.
And it doesn't
end well?
And seriously, does not end well.
So this is just 4 Loco Part 2?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I hesitate to promote this activity.
Okay.
Without adult supervision.
Well, we are adults.
Okay.
And we will try some Gator wine.
You know that I need to be supervised.
I feel like
that's the pickle.
I feel like we should go down to the Hippo where Serena is.
Okay.
She runs the Hippo in downtown Raleigh. It's a wine shop. Free plug. Serena's a hardcore listener, so we appreciate her. She brought us the beer stick and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm going to go to the Hippo. I'm going to ask Serena, what's the cheapest red wine you've got? And we're going to pair it with a blue Gatorade.
Can I put it on ice? Or?
Yeah, why not?
Oh, okay, then we're in.
Yeah, I'm all about that. We'll make that happen.
The lightning round.
All right, we will close with a first pitch review. Our guy Josh Graham, WSJS, was at the Dash. I think Brooke Pryor is still in the. I think she's still in the chat, so hopefully she can see Josh Graham throwing out this first pitch. Let's see what we got here. He's in his Orioles uniform, of course. He's doing the Craig Kimbrell, blah blah blah. Mess it up here. Yeah, he's going, with the Craig Kimbrell.
Hey, it didn't bounce.
It didn't bounce. It was a little high and outside. Let's watch this again. It's okay.
It's the left arm.
It's the arm,
that's
man.
really kind of.
It's the arm. Let me see if I can. Let me pause it here. I just need to know what's up with this. What is that?
It's like
what is that release?
It's like the Night King throwing a javelin. Poor
like
Josh.
There's like no look at it's like no flexibility, man. Like there's no look at the flick of the wrist. That thing leaves high. Look how high that thing leaves too.
You got to release those hips, Josh.
Josh's hips do in fact lie. That's what I'm taking away from this.
I thought it was overall though.
No.
Giving him like a 6 out of 10 for that. It didn't bounce. It got there.
Bounce. It didn't bounce.
He didn't take it too seriously. I mean, the jersey was a little bit much, but
of course he's going to wear it.
Yeah.
I just want to know how many undershirts he had.
Yeah, our guy.
I just want to know. I just want to know how many undershirts he had under that jersey. Just so when the arm was released,
that's why they couldn't release.
Maybe it was all the shirts.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man. Perspiration's a real serious thing. I know they make prescription stuff out there as well. I get it. I've gone through so many different deodorants to make sure that I don't have that issue. So I can see where that's what's causing a little bit of the problem with Josh on the throw.
Got me twice today.
We love you, Josh. Big thanks to Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. You can bundle and save at bugsbite.com. Mosquito Authority, it's in the name. They take care of the outside of your house with mosquito control. For somebody like me that's backed up to a creek, there's some moisture back there, breeding ground for mosquitoes, keeps it in check. And that way I can grill and not be bothered. And with Pest Authority, Joe, as you know, you can take care of some issues inside your house, right down to not just like things like ants or whatever, but even like moisture barriers, vapor barriers, that kind of stuff.
The moisture barrier underneath my house is that's a saver.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're looking to sell your home. You big way to ruin the value of your home. Mold or mildew issues.
Yeah, man.
Number one. So check them out for that. Also mice. Sometimes I see a snake in the backyard and then I see a mice and I'm like, hey, snake, buddy, I didn't get the shovel and kill you because I think we can live together and kind of protect each other. But if you're not going to take care of these mice, well, guess what?
Yeah. I've said that about the cats.
Well, no, we wouldn't do that to the cat.
I mean, I don't know, man. If they're not going to pick up their end of the bargain. I mean, did I tell you about when I saw a
did.
mouse?
You
No. Like the mouse was in the junk drawer.
Right.
And I opened up the junk drawer to see this mouse, and Lila, the one that I've pinned as like the God's perfect little killer, you know, she's looking outside. She wants to go after the rabbits. She's looking outside. She's looking at the birds. I'm like, well, here you go. Here's a tasty treat for you. And
Take care of it. Yeah.
Take care of it. Because I know Roy.
Unleash the fury.
Roy was a sicko. Okay. I mean, I told you about the time that I heard some commotion. I go into the kitchen and Roy had taken a leg off of a mouse.
Whoa.
And was just chasing it around,
Just the
playing
leg?
with it. Just the leg. Hobbled it. Sicko. Pure sicko, man.
Whoa.
So I'm like, hey, Lila, here's this tasty treat for you. And she was like, not, can I get a treat instead? No, get the freaking mouse. So this is where bugsbite.com comes into play because they'll take care of that stuff. Big thanks to Breeze Through. Check them out. Locations across the triangle, conveniently located outside FBS playing schools. Who knew? It almost is like by a plan. And if you're planning on going to Carter Finley Stadium, you don't have a parking spot, but you want an easy access to Carter Finley Stadium and potentially some great food truck food, gas station food, you can park at the Breeze Through just outside Carter Finley Stadium.
What a bonus.
First come, first serve.
One thing I really love about their food truck is sometimes food trucks can get a little too fancy, right?
can.
Like, you know, like bacon remoulade or whatever, like with, you know, like oranges and all this other bullshit. It's
Nah,
like,
keep it simple.
no, I would like a grilled cheese. Hey, I would like a hot dog.
Hey,
I would like a hamburger.
Hey, tell you what, those fries pretty good. You know, it'd be even better. Put some barbecue on those fries, and I can walk and eat at the same time.
There
with
we
a
go.
fork. Good stuff.
Amazing fries.
So
Chicken tenders.
Oh, you can never go wrong with that. Check out breezethrough.com. All right, let's go to the YouTube comment section from yesterday from Jesse. I love how as soon as I start the audio version of the podcast, I get Cam Newton yelling, "Drinking and driving," in my ears. LOL. Like, yeah. Look, man.
The Blue Wire ad with Cam Newton really is like a William Shatner. It's like Jim Carrey doing William Shatner. It's like an improv.
It's an important message from Cam.
It's an excellent message.
It's
but
very
it
important
really
message,
is like
especially this time of the year.
It's almost like he's reading a monitor and it's like sneaking up on him.
Hey, Cam. Oh, drinking and driving. Okay. See if Cam
Please don't drink and drive.
Don't do it. Don't do it. From Scott, that Enter Sandman had straight up smooth Carolina Beach music vibes. I could definitely see some folks at Fat Harold shagging to that version of that tune.
Hey, did we get flagged for that song?
No, we got flagged for Breaking Bad.
Really?
Yeah. AMC came down hard on that.
Wow.
Like straight up not even sharing YouTube ad revenue. Just straight up ineligible.
Get out.
Get out of here. Because you know what? AMC is the one who knocks when it comes to a takedown.
Clearly.
Notice. So I could have like taken it out, but it is whatever. My brother texted me, I am dying at this closer AI version. I'm like, surprisingly catchy for the 9 Inch Nails.
Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly catchy. Yeah. Let's see. From Jay Clemens, huge State fan. And as always, I anticipate another 8-9 win season with how the fans feel about the season hinging on the results of the Carolina game. Yeah, that sounds fairly accurate. Let's see. We have, what do we got? Let's see. We got UNC. I need to check my prescription here. UNC, RJ Davis, at UNC, RJ Davis and Harrison Ingram signed brand deals with Reebok. This is in relation to the Cooper Flag New Balance deal. They even shot social media video for Reebok while in Charlotte for the Jordan Brand Classic.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. And I even saw my Adidas person yesterday, Jordan, and he was like, yeah, we had this with Haley Van Lith. Like she was at a Nike school, but she did Adidas stuff off the court. Try to understand here, people, what we're talking about. All respect to RJ Davis, who was the best player in the ACC last year. You're talking about number 1 recruit in the country. You're talking about somebody who, just like if Zion had come in at the time and had the ability to cash in on, like, this is a person who actually has a chance to change the industry, not sneaker wise, but how colleges are going about their contracts with these schools, even to the point as Jordan explained to me, Notre Dame's last deal that they did, which ultimately was with Under Armour, they had to consider that, under the new NIL rules, there's going to be players who come in and say, sorry, I have a deal with Nike.
Yeah.
I have a deal with Nike. I'm wearing Nike. The school, just like I said about the NBA, can say, yes, you're required to wear the jersey that has the logo that we are paid for to wear. But there's nothing that governs your body that says you can't wear shoes. It's just a matter of time. They're already having this conversation. And to my point is, to have someone have a sea change, it takes the top of the food chain. It doesn't take, again, apologies to RJ Davis and Harrison Ingram, even Haley Van Lith. It takes someone like a Cooper Flag to come in and say, cool,
I'm wearing my New Balance.
You get your money and I'm going to get mine.
I need Harrison Ingram to play a basketball game in the 534s. The standard issue Raleigh Bro shoe.
Owned by Adidas.
Yes, there's that too. There is that too. From Stan, brands do actually send spotters to games to monitor for their logos and compliance. I can't speak for the players, but the trick for football support staff is to show up around the equipment room in your rattiest shoes and gear. You will swiftly be provided with the latest and greatest branded gear they have. That is a pro move, Stan.
No, I'm telling you, the detail in those contracts is amazing. What I'm saying is it's legally going to be challenged. That's what I'm saying.
From T, after hearing OG248, I now have to remove the Yacht Rock channel from Sirius XM radio selections list. Good point. But we got from Sure something, the username, sometimes I don't know. Goal at UNC is to keep me interested until basketball starts. Yeah, for some people that's the case, man. It is what it is. From Ken, how did Giglio like Bush and their 3 singles from Machine Head? Maybe it'll be good from Crank Arm. That was last night over at Red Hat.
I know, I missed out.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad I missed out on that too. From Evan, how are we feeling about this Oasis news?
What is the Oasis?
The band Oasis.
Yeah.
The only opinion that I have on Oasis is that Blur was better.
What is the news, though?
They're getting back together. The brothers, Liam and Noel, who constantly feud, they're getting back together. So I think they're doing a concert together. If you want action, they're already taking bets overseas on when they'll break up again.
Oh, cool.
Because they're constantly feuding. But Oasis, look, when it comes to Oasis, I never really understood.
Like 2 good albums.
Two good albums.
Like amazing albums. Right?
2 great albums. And they have the one track off that one. What was it? Effin' in the Bushes from, what was the name of it had Brad Pitt in it and Jason Statham. And it's going to bother me. And I know that people are going to leave it in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Where he was the boxer.
Yeah.
What was it called? Hold on a second. Now I have to see Jason Statham, Brad Pitt movie, Guy Ritchie. What was it called? Snatch. Thank you. All right. Now that I got that out of my system. Great movie, Snatch. Had it on DVD once before I sold it to Nice Price. What else we got here? Oh, but to wrap my point on Oasis, I like their first 2 albums. They're catchy, but I always thought that they bit the Beatles a little too hard.
Yeah.
And in terms of getting a little creative and stuff that I gravitated to, was Blur. I like Blur better. Anyway, that's just me.
That feels like something you would have said back then, too.
Yes.
That's very on brand for you.
Look, just let
Blur, the group that has 1 song is better than Oasis, who has like 8 songs.
Just let it be known when there was the Battle of Britain back in the 90s when both Blur and Oasis put a single out on the same day to be at the top of the charts. Blur won with Country House, which is a song I'll still listen to today. Just saying. Corey, I am the Wolf Who Knocks t-shirts now. Maybe. You never know. You never know. And according to Brandt, there was an early 80s David Bowie-esque version of Enter Sandman. Not AI. I'll have to check that out for the next one, for the next podcast. Anyway, folks, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. We will see you at Longleaf Swine Thursday, 1:00 for a Sleek Fleet OG Live.